The things that happen off camera, but microphone in this case.
Eventually, we need to make this a video podcast.
No.
You don't think I have a face for videos?
All right, we're rolling.
All right, welcome everybody. This is what is formerly known as the Smackliff Podcast. I'm going to take the reins on this. I think we're going to change the name. It is going to be the Rambling Men Podcast. And I'm here, Travis. I'm doing your intro. And I have my co-host here. You guys can say your names.
We're still working on this part.
This is Jake.
I'm Josh.
This is Isaac.
And this is the Rambling Men Podcast.
Yeah, it's got some good flow to it. I like that. I like
Amen,
that.
brother.
And today I have the honors of introducing our host for this episode, Isaac. He is our host, and he is bringing... This is why I don't.
What's he doing?
This is why I don't do intros very often. Isaac will be bringing us the.
Yes, I'm bringing the whole podcast, just me by myself.
Yeah, we're just here for fun.
He will bring the topic for this podcast. My part's over.
You can go.
Anyway, take it
I
away.
have to say, when y'all ask me to say my name, I've had to say my last name so many times that it was like I stuttered for a hot second because I was like, oh, it's Kelly. Wait, no, that's not my first name. That's not my first name.
For anybody who's wondering why a grown man has had to say his last name many, many times over the last few weeks, it's because, Mr. Isaac over here decided to go be part of the Guard. So
Hell yeah, brother.
he's going through basic, and we get to have him for this week. And
I have to drive back on the 1st.
Right. And how long are you gone again?
I'll
Couple
have
months?
just under seven weeks.
Oh, that's not bad.
No,
That's
so
not
it's
as
like
bad as I
six.
thought.
So like it's 6 weeks and like 4 or 5 days because we graduate on a Wednesday.
That's lovely.
Yes.
Grand.
Yes.
Cool.
So I'll have. Oh, and then on top of that, I graduate on a Wednesday. I go home on a Thursday, and then I have 3 days off, and then I go back to work on that Monday. I told my boss.
Nice.
I was like, dude, they got me. I went back to work for like a day. And they got me so pumped up. I'm like, dude, this is gonna make basic training so much easier. I'm so ready to get back to work.
Yep.
I'm going back to a $40 a week raise. I got the biggest bonus on that route that route has ever seen ever. I had the second, if not the largest bonus in the whole depot that paid out after I'd already been at basic. It was like $2,400, dude.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
then I got an award. If you guys go use the restroom, look above the stand with the pictures. That plaque is the award that I won.
Nice.
For kicking butt and taking names. And then our depot won Depot of the Year. So like we went from making the company $400,000 a year to $1.5 million a year.
Nice.
In the course of a year and a half. It's a big bump.
Yeah.
So much so that they're sending my boss to another depot half of the week. So he's only at our building for 2 days out of the week.
So what's our topic, Isaac?
Our topic is what it is to be a man, like a good man. Like, what does that mean to you? And the 3 aspects of being a man spiritually, physically, and mentally. So what it is to show up when, or what that means. We can start off by like what that means to you. So what does it mean to be a man, a father? What does masculinity mean to you in your eyes? I know we have similar ideals, but a lot of times we each see the same subject from different angles. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. We can start spiritually, physically, or mentally. We can start on any one of those if you guys have a preference. But it just... I have an opportunity to learn from, like, spend a lot of close time with a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old dudes while I was at basic training, and to learn how differently they view it in just the last couple of years. Like, there's not that big of an age gap. I'm 25. Like, I'm not that much older than these guys, but, like, just the difference in how they see things and how we see things, and I'm like, okay, all right. And just the difference in how my generation acted and how this next generation is starting to act quite a bit better in comparison, if I may say that. And yeah.
All right.
So if the group wants to just pick one of those 3 topics to start off on, I'd absolutely love for any of you guys to take over for a hot second so I can get a swig of alcohol. Drink responsibly, kids. Or not actually kids, but
Grown adults.
Grown adults who are over the age of 21 or
Legal age humans.
legal age drinking
Yeah, we
age.
had it. We were going fine, and then we told minors to start drinking. Okay, grand.
That's
It could be up
the
for
one-liner
interpretation.
that our
That's
drill,
fair. He's 25. You know, you can call somebody younger than
Yeah.
you a kid.
I mean,
our
I
drill
see
sergeant.
21-year-olds as kids. Like, they
Yeah.
seem... They're like...
See, I'm allowed to.
6
I'm from a
years
different
younger than
decade than those kids, so I'm allowed
that's
to.
fair.
I'm allowed to call them kids.
Dude, it's funny. I get called a kid more than most because I like to be verbal. I like to ask questions. I like to talk to the drill sergeants. I will never get an opportunity to be around so many people with so many different skill sets like them. Mm-hmm. Like, we've got one female drill sergeant who's her whole purpose in the Army is to be a advisor. She has no speciality, but she does a lot of things really well, and her whole job is just to be an advisor. And then she became a drill sergeant. So I'm like, you go from that to having a expert in security, who is one of our drill like our platoon drill sergeants, who is an expert in security, was a cop for a little while, is like the epitome of like Southern style man, like masculine man, like cares more about teaching than being a drill sergeant, to a freaking nerd from the middle of Ohio who is like, his outlook on life is like just completely different from everybody else. Like, he loves life and he loves people, but he has to be a drill sergeant right now. It has a halo tattoo on the back of his leg, and was in the top 50 in one of the video games that he used to play in the world. And like has the pictures, the screenshots of his stats to prove it. And it's like, I apologize. What was the first thing that I said? I like completely forgot what I was saying.
No. How to be a man.
Yeah. Yeah. You're learning from a bunch of different people,
Yes.
and you're called a kid a lot.
Yes. I'm the same age as some of these turds. Before I got to boot camp, I had a sergeant who had 4 or 5 years of experience, who was a year and a half younger than me. Mm-hmm. We had a guy in our platoon who was the oldest that we've ever had in this company for like 50 years. Charlie 795. That was 41 years old, who is literally older than all of the drill sergeants. Our oldest drill sergeant was all but one. One of them's older. And he doesn't look like it. You couldn't tell unless he was honest. He's like, dang. It's like, one of the drill sergeants was like, dude, you could be literally my dad. You are the same age as my dad. Suffice it to say, he hurt himself and had to go home. But anyways, you had a wide variety. And it just amazes me that, like, that drill sergeant that calls me a kid that calls us kids the most is like 2 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And like half my size. It's just hysterical. Anyways, go ahead. Which one of the 3 topics do we want to start on?
Honestly, I can't remember if this was one of the topics, but should we kind of just define like what we think?
Speak up.
Oh yeah, you're right. Should we define like what we think, or what the internet thinks, or what someone thinks
Sure.
about like
Yeah.
what it means to become a man?
Oh, to become a man.
To become a man, or what it looks like to be a man.
So, I would say that those are two different things. So, especially culturally, those are two different things. But so
the becoming part is later
start...
on in the notes. Later on,
It's in the notes.
It's in the notes. That's like what I want to get to.
Did you read the dossier I sent over?
So if you look at the very bottom of the... It's in the group chat.
Yep.
So, spiritually, physically, mentally, what does it mean to be a man?
So like somewhere down there, I don't know exactly where it is, but we'll start on what is it... what's your definition of which one of the three aspects of being a man, what it means? So like, I'll say, hey, what does it mean to be spiritual? We'll just start with spirituality. What does it mean to be a man spiritually? Like, what does it take to be, what is your definition of the spiritual aspect of being a man? And not just a man, a leader, a dad, a leader in your church.
Well, okay, whoa, brakes, pump those brakes hard. Like, that's great, but that's a lot of stuff. Like, because you
I'm just saying, pick one.
You don't have to be a man to be a leader in a church.
Exactly.
So,
but if you
and there are people that
like,
would argue about that. So, like,
fair enough.
You know, let's keep it to definition for now to start, and then we can branch. But I would normally just roll with being the first one and saying what needs to be said, but I don't know that I can actually separate the three, frankly. Like, the spiritually, physically, and mentally. I don't know. I feel like, for me personally, my understanding of it, it's hard to, quote, be a man in those three categories if you are not also in the other two. So like if you're a manly man physically, but you suck spiritually or mentally, then I mean, for me that's just all right, great. You've got some good muscles. Unfortunate that you can't use them for anything useful. Like,
yeah,
you know. And so I mean, I don't want to, you know, slam people super hard for that. But like in my own life, I don't know that I have a good definition of just one. So to grab all of them to kind of define what I see as a manly person, the elements that I would expect are that yes, you are a physically capable individual. You are dedicated to what you believe, and you are choosing to live your life in a way that affects others in a positive light. And those are really, really broad strokes. And there are people that are not manly men that can fit that, I think. But if we're looking for just Josh's definition of a man doing his thing, his job, I would say that, man, you got to be able to physically handle whatever your life has put into your world. You've got to be spiritually adept enough, regardless of what you believe. You have to be spiritually adept enough that you can talk about it and actually defend your point of view in the world. Because if you're not willing to have conversation with other people, if you're not willing to actually stand on what you believe, then you don't actually stand on anything. And you're not allowed to throw rocks at me for standing on something if you're just, you know, hanging out. Like, that does not count for me. And mentally, very similar boat. Like, if you believe something super passionately about the world, like, I want to hear about it. I want to know about it. But I expect a conversation. I expect you to be mentally prepared enough, both for your life and for the things that you are not ready for in life, to be able to move forward. So if you don't know how to do something and you want me to define you as a man, you go and do the work necessary to figure it out. Like, maybe that's as simple as a YouTube video, or maybe that's something as you got to go to school to go do what you think you're called to. Like, but you have to do the work. That's probably the biggest one on mental checklist of, like, you can't just sit idly by and say, I'm a manly man, I'm going to do all the things, and then never actually do it. I think the hardest hitting example is there's somebody I know personally who there's this cool skill that he has a lot of friends that do. And every time that he sees them, he's like, yeah, I'm going to learn that. And then every single time, he's got everything that he needs to start this skill, but it sits in the corner and it gathers dust. And it's like that.
I feel like that was a shot at me.
No. No.
Dude, I was literally...
I am being really broad because I don't want them to, like, feel bad about it, but, like...
No, you're good. I only say that because I was sitting in the... I was cleaning up in the corner of my room, and I see my guitar sitting there, and it's really dusty and really out of tune, and the strings are... Travis just looked over at me, and I was like, same. I've had three guitars. This is the third one. And the last two I either sold or... Actually, no, I gave both of them away. Because I was like, just use this because I know you're going to... My last guitar I gave to a buddy at camp because... a student, actually, at camp because I knew his dad stole his guitar. And this guy's, like, gifted out the booty hole. Like, I've never met a guitar player who is just that good at playing guitar. He could pick up any song. And I'm like, dude, you could do this you could be a professional guitar player, bro. And your dad just stole your guitar? Like, what a turd.
Yeah.
Take mine. I'm not going to use it as much as you.
Yeah. But for me, like, if you try at the skill and then, you know, you're not good at it or you only do it from time to time, that's honestly more okay with me than the whole, oh man, I wish I could do this. And it's like, then go do it. Like, grow up. Please.
Just do it.
Like, seriously. There's a reason that belongs to an athletic shoe company. Like,
dude, you're like the thing that feeling that you have inside of you right now is the same feeling that I aim towards my father. That mofo was so good at so many things and has the same. He has so much more time on his hands than I do, or at least the same amount of time. Because he doesn't have children right now that are in the house. All of his children are grown. All of my siblings are grown and married. Two of us have kids. He's got an almost empty house, the only thing that's there. And I was like, dude, you're at the prime, like, you're just barely 50. You could be doing all these adventurous things that you wanted to do as a younger adult, never had the funding to do, that you could be doing now. You could be saving so much money. You refuse to try to earn money, and you refuse to actually go for it. You keep saying you're going to do all these wonderful things, and I'm like, bro, just go for it. Just do it. I'll help you. Like, I'll back you like you've never had anybody back you before. I'll back you more than your wife. I'll back you more than my mom has ever backed you before. Because I'm a male, and I'm way more testosterone in my body to go. I'll go front through a brick wall to back you, brother. I was like, I'll pay for these trips, dude. Like, my job provides me enough funding to do the things that I want to do. I just gotta be strategic about it. And I'm like, just go for it. Just get a little bit of exercise. You'd be so, oh, my sleep sucks. Okay, well, find a job that gets you on first shift instead of working a job that's third shift. Okay, well, you feel like you're supposed to be here? Okay, well, then figure out how to make yourself valuable enough to get them on first shift. Figure out a way. And if you're not supposed to be on first shift, then the Lord will provide you with the tools to get you to stay on third shift and be productive in a way that is what you're supposed to be. But they've got a vibrating toy.
No,
it's
you're
this
good.
ball with little spikes on it. It looks like a toy version of the
sorry
COVID.
guys, I just made a face about some other thing that's probably not even on the mic. But...
My children are upstairs and they have a toy that's vibrating on the floor. Yeah, children's toy. It looks like a COVID cell. Like, you know, the circle with the little thing sticking out of it? Yeah, but it vibrates. And my son likes to stick it on his throat and be like, He'll stand there and just be like, We got it like 3 days ago and the battery's almost already dead. But my dad frustrates the frustrates me so much because he's got so many opportunities. Like, the Lord will open doors, like, to where he meets somebody at church who has funding and the want to have a buddy that does these cool things. Like, my dad wants to go on this, like, 4-day hike. Shoot, I got vacation out the wazoo. I got 2 weeks of vacation, and after next November, I'll have 3 weeks of vacation. That's almost a whole month of paid time off. We could do that, no problem. Freaking, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for all of it. But you gotta do it. You gotta train it. I'm like, dude, just go for it. You have so much opportunity compared to your parents. Your parents were such stick-ups, little turds, and just because they didn't know any better. And it just frustrates the out of me.
Yeah.
Frustrates. He has so many. Both. Go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad.
You're okay. You're okay. I'm not cutting you off because it's bad stuff. I'm just every now and then we got to pause.
Yes, absolutely.
Move to
Go
somebody
ahead.
else. And we're giving you sugar, so you know.
Yes. Haven't had alcohol in, 3 months?
Could be an interesting episode.
No alcohol. No caffeine.
All right, gents, go. Give us something to work with. Some
So,
sort of your own definition.
I think I might go a little bit more vague than you with this. So a big thing I think about when I think about like what it means to be a man is to be a good role model. And like, you know, you could be a great supervisor that knows how to delegate people, but like if I see you putting in the work and showing me how you want me to act, you know, that speaks volumes. Like, you know, this is where I want you to be, and this is me doing it. Like, this is showing that it's possible. This is showing you that, you know, this can be done.
Yeah.
And that's super vague, but like just in general, like when you have a good role model in life, it really just helps you kind of align your ideals and, you know, how you want to, you know, progress in your growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I track with that, for sure. So when you're picturing a man, like a manly man, what are you seeing out of this sort of like advisor role? So obviously you're talking about somebody living out what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You're talking about somebody that's willing to stand up for the team and say like, hey, this is what we do. So obviously you're not referring to somebody who's, you know, just sitting up in the corporate office and being like, oh, go do this, plebs. Like,
Right.
go do the work I command you. Like, that's not what you envision. But like, on a more specific scope, to hone it in a little bit more, what sort of elements go alongside this live what you say sort of perspective?
I would say someone who's, I think a big part of being a man is like being humble, like, you know, and I think that kind of goes along with, you know, being a good role model and like living out what you teach. Because like if you're humble, you know, kind of along the way, you can show the person you're trying to teach that, you know, I'm doing this and I messed up here, but that's because we're human and we make mistakes. So I think humility is a big part, and, you know, other great factors in becoming or being a man is like just, you know, honesty about your weaknesses, but also just patience. You know, different people have different personalities and different strengths and weaknesses, so just realizing the person you're teaching might not be able to learn, you know, the skill at the same pace that you are. I think that that goes a long way.
Yeah. Jake.
I don't have a ton, but I was kind of just thinking about this off and on throughout the week. Just two main things came to mind, just being able to provide and protect. I feel like those two can be put into our three subcategories of spirituality, spiritually, physically, and mentally. Just being able to like provide for your family or for yourself spiritually is huge. Not just going to church and learning there, but being able to go home and be able to learn from the Bible yourself and not just from others, and being able to protect your faith and knowing what you believe in, being able to protect what you believe in, not just going with what others say and believing what they say. But yeah, and then physically, just I kind of thought of like a few people I see as like a man physically, like Isaac, our main workout guy, or like just like in the military, you think like that's a manly man. Like we were talking about the Murphy challenge, Michael Murphy, like a great human being that has passed years ago, and he was just very protective, very humble, very just a very great leader, and now has an organization that has raised tons of money for what he's done, and so people can become like him, and just being able to provide physically and just helping the community, that kind of thing, and protect your family, and and then mentally just kind of being able to learn from stuff and provide. And I don't know, I'm kind of just thinking out loud as I'm going through this, but just
I mean, we are called the Rambling Men, so
yeah.
I think it's fair.
I went off my notes a little bit.
But yeah,
Spiel.
Proud of you.
that was basically it with mentally, just being able to learn for yourself, kind of like spiritually, just being able to learn for yourself and and protect and make an argument, not just going with what everyone says. But
Cool. Yeah, it's very good.
There you go, leader. There's our definitions.
That'll work. When you were talking about role models, three people came to mind. Four, actually. The first one that came to mind was your guys' dad. I'm going to be honest, I would not be here if it weren't for your dad. I'm referring...
Me neither.
Couldn't help it.
No, that was perfect. I went to counseling. Like, the only reason I know the two of you is because of your dad. Your mom, actually. I knew your mom first. Your mom worked with my mom for like 12 years. So, like, longer than I could talk. No, it's been way longer than that, because they started
12 years. Wait, hold
12
on.
years ago.
I'm trying to think how long... Anyway, it's been a long time since I've been... since I've known your family. And your dad helped me through a lot of stuff. Because he had 3 boys that were as old as me or older than me who had all gone through similar stuff. And, my dad was not very talkative. He didn't know how to talk at that point in time. He still struggles to communicate. He's got a lot up here, but there's nothing down here. Like, I pointed to my brain because he's got it up where it counts. Like, mentally, he's there. It's just getting it out and not being embarrassed about talking about stuff is where he falls very, very short. And just now I'm working with him to get him to open up and say, hey, look, it's not weak to do this stuff. And if you think it's weak, I can show you people who have killed people who are way more badass than us, who open up about these kinds of things and say, no, you need to open up about these kinds of things. It's not... my dad is one of them. He struggled a lot. My dad helped me in the sense where I look at him and see somebody who was not given a lot of opportunity growing up to succeed, and yet he succeeded. He's the only one out of the 3 brothers that have a successful family and don't hate themselves, and has never tried to, off himself out of the 3 brothers. And that's not through a lack of trying. If anything, he's the oldest. He got beat up mentally more than any of the other 2 brothers. And he still came out the other side kicking. He's got 3 beautiful children. He's got a really nice house. The Lord blessed him with that house. It's like a $500,000 house. It's so nice. And he makes less money than me. I'm going to put that out there right now. He makes less money than me. But just to be able to survive and hold on and say, I know that inside and up here I'm really broken, but I can hold out. I'll hold out until the time's right, and then we can deal with this stuff. He's never made a ton of money. He's never had a lot of resources at his, but he's stayed steady and always there. He's there even though like his body's letting him down, or the medication that he's taking is causing him to not be able to, like he's trapped but he's always there. He's always served the Lord. He might question the Lord sometimes, like, dude, why is this happening to me, Lord? He probably doesn't say dude, you know. But,
I get what you mean.
But you get my point. And then my boss. My boss is like the epitome of like just what a man is. He succeeds at a lot of different aspects of what I think is a good man. He makes a lot of money. Not like a ton, but enough to live very comfortably. He loves what he does. He is physically fit. He's not the most fit, but he's also the tiniest human being that we have at the building. Physically, he's like 5'1", if 5 foot at all. He might be 4'11". I almost said 4'12" there. but he's physically fit. He's mentally fit, and he spends time. His goal is to help us grow and make money. And not just grow mentally, but grow mentally, physically, and spiritually. He'll like send us Bible verses, at least the ones who are willing to listen. 90%. There's one guy who doesn't really care, but he's just a stubborn turd. Everybody else in our group is willing to listen. He's like, hey, I learned about this today. Or hey, do you guys know anything? He's our leader in a lot of aspects, but he's also like willing to learn from us. We have guys that have grown succeed, like Cody. He succeeds in the customer aspect more than anybody else by a long shot. He makes more money. He makes almost more money than the boss. Like, Cody's really good at certain things, and they learn from each other, and they're humble enough to say, hey, the boss is humble enough to say, hey, Isaac, I know you've only been here for 2 months. I messed up. I shouldn't talk to you like this. That's not how we do things here, and I apologize for that. Him being 10 years of experience here, making 3 times as much money as I make, and has a family, and he's a successful man, and just to have the humbleness to say to somebody who has only been working there for 2 months, say, hey, I didn't talk to you in the most respectful manner, like that those little things like add up. Like when him and Tim and my dad all like they're all those two. Like my dad has that one aspect, but those two other men very much so they want everybody around them to succeed and grow, and they're not perfect in everything they do, but they do set a really, really good example of what that looks like. I don't have a ton of time spent with your dad anymore. I haven't seen him in probably like 6 or 7 months. I see my boss all the time. So I have more examples with my boss, and like he helped me grow my route to like our team. We all want to help each other. We all want everybody else to succeed, and that just to have the humility means a lot. Because if we weren't as humble as we were in a lot of, granted we are arrogant sometimes. We'll talk some mad crap, dude. We'll talk it with the best of the best. But at the same time, that when we talk that crap, it's like, oh, now I have to make sure that I can follow through on that, so I don't look like a ding dong. And that's exactly what happened. Cody was the only one of our branch to ever win President's Club, ever in the history of that building being set up. Nobody's ever won President's Club. Cody won it. And then the next year, he took me and one other guy and almost got a 4th guy to go this year. He was like, oh, last year Cody was like, I'm going to bring all these guys with me next year. We're not having the solo style this time. We're going to bring more people with us. And not only that, we're going to bring our youngest ASR with us. And you know what? I got it. I can't go to the vacation. I can't accept the award, but because I'll be at training. But now he can be like, ha, I told you. We got it. How many men do you know that you've ever worked with that are like, I want to help you make money because I'm also going to learn how to make more money, and then I'm going to share my secrets with you so we can all make more money together.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the basis of pretty much every major corporation in the United States right now. Like, outside of okay, all right, I can already hear the comments section screaming at me. Outside of all of them that are like underpaying their employees and slashing all of their qualities and all of that jazz, people that are doing things right are based off of that same perspective, that leadership learns from those that are under them just as much as vice versa. That's actually, I studied leadership for a while. It was my minor. And
Nerd.
Like that concept of leadership has been proven for decades to just work better. Like, just hands down. Like, it's not even a question mark of like, well, maybe this leadership. No, like, leaders that are willing to actually listen to people and actually see the need of those. Now, granted, there are leaders that they can see the need and then still say, we have to go this direction because it's the best choice to do. Like, sometimes those choices happen. But when you have a leader that's willing to actually work with those that are under them to make it better, whatever it is, it's almost across the board that leadership style is more effective. So, as far as manliness goes, like, that's just a biblical concept. Like, yeah, that's something that is mentioned a couple different times of like, hey, treat each other well. You know, the concept of treat others the way that you want to be treated does not just apply to kids on the playground. Like, we're not just talking about don't yell at people because you don't want them to yell at you. It's, hey, if you don't feel like treating somebody like a piece of dirt, having that be thrown back at you, well, then don't go to the people that you're over and treat them like dirt. Don't do that. Because if you actually want a team that's going to survive and thrive with you as the leader, if you want to be a strong man in that sense, then you have to be willing to lower yourself and say, hey, I might not know everything. I might need to learn something from you. Or maybe you've got a better way to do it. Maybe our way is totally fine, but your way is better. And, like, we need to be able to accept that. And if you can't, then you're missing the opportunity to not only gain the rewards from that, but you're also missing the opportunity to build rapport with your team that you're working with. Like, every single time that you ignore something that your lowers are talking about and you just flat out push them away, that will double back on their attitude towards you, towards the organization, and towards their coworkers. Because eventually, if you do it enough, all of the coworkers will have the same experience, and they'll all look at you and be like, that kind of sucked. I mean, we're running into that right now with, I assume that you guys heard about the, the healthcare worker assassination, not care worker, the CEO assassination from New York, all that. Oh, right, you were at baseball.
I was going to say, I've been living under
you
a
get
rock.
nothing. You guys haven't heard about it?
I don't watch the news as much as I should.
Okay, well, I got
Or
almost
that's debatable.
all my info from TikTok, so no, that's not true. I've done some extra research. Don't worry, guys.
That's why I haven't heard. Gotcha.
But well, I'll make it short because that's not what this episode is about. But long story short, You good over there?
My babies. As
All
soon
right.
as the first one started crying, the second one's like, hey, what? Mm-hmm. It's a chorus of
Chaos.
yes.
Oh boy.
But anyway, long story short, a random guy decides he's going to assassinate a insurance CEO. So, like, major health insurance CEO. Succeeds. New York goes into lockdown mode to try and find him. They don't. He gets away. And they find him later in Pennsylvania and are now in the process of prosecuting him. Well, the reason that I brought it up is because they are having trouble starting the proceedings because they can't find a jury. Because so many people are sympathetic towards shooting a health insurance CEO.
Okay.
So many people are sympathetic to that they literally cannot find enough people that are not biased to make a jury to have a trial.
Dang.
Like, so you want to talk about how leadership affects those that are around you. You want to talk about how being a strong man and being a biblically minded person in how you lead can affect those that are under you. We have an entire city that is struggling to find a small group of people to be non-biased enough to talk about a murder. That's how bad it is. Like, it's obviously pretty clear that if you treat people like crap for long enough, they will respond. And, I'm not justifying the murder, not justifying any of that, but just look at the jury. Just look at the problem of a jury and tell me that that's how leadership is supposed to be handled. If that many people are angry at what you do and how you do it.
That they're okay if somebody else murders you.
Like...
That's pretty bad.
That's really bad. And so, again, as you're talking about live by example, there are so many businesses that burn their employees because they just sit there and they treat them like crap. And they don't actually lead by example. I can't tell you how many times somebody has said, oh, we're going to work like this. We're a family. And it's like, 2 months later, you're like, this is a weird family. I don't remember any family stuff happening, and I also don't remember the part where I'm supposed to, clean the rugs, do all the dishes, buy your food, and then come in early the next day because you decided to leave crap in the toilet. Like, I don't remember that part being part of the family. That's potent for men and leadership. Like, that happens a lot. Yeah.
I will say, like, when people say we're gonna work like a family or this company is run like a family, that's not saying a whole lot, because in the scope of the whole world,
we're talking like Florida family.
Yeah, there's a very vast diversity in what a family could look like.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I have had one CEO that I have trusted with that phrase, and he lived up to it. One. And I have had many jobs that have bragged or at the very least suggested that sort of thinking. And I mean, even scientific research has gone into and looked at what happens with that phrase. Like, what happens when you start talking about your work team as a family. And the perspective is, if you actually live out that they are a family and you treat them like it, the business often succeeds way farther than what was expected. But if you don't, the effect is doubled in a negative. People get so angry when you lied to them about being this. When you're just flat about it and be like, no, this is just a job. Usually people kind of keep the job steady. Like, it doesn't go up a whole bunch, it doesn't go down a whole bunch. But when people start to make these weird promises and flat out lies about how their leadership is going to take care of you, and then those expectations are not met, it just destroys all the credibility of the leadership and ends up destroying basically the company over time.
Just talking about being a man and what that looks like for a father, brother, husband, and friend. We don't have to get into each one and talk about what it's like for all of them, but I was just thinking, like, as I was thinking about each of these, I feel like a lot of these can be similar, like we've talked about earlier today. Like, your wife is and should be your best friend, and like your best friend is often like a sibling. They're so close, and like, you don't really call your father your brother, but I mean, there can be some closeness. I feel like I'm getting slightly off track already. Just talking about
I'm tracking.
Just being a good man is like being a good friend and being a good brother.
And
And
there's a lot of similar qualities there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the majority of what I was thinking with that. But part of father was just, I automatically think like being like your heavenly father, or I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that exactly, but yeah, just being humble as like, yeah, as Jesus was. He was always pointing to the Holy Spirit or to his heavenly Father. But yeah, like we've talked about earlier, just humility and yeah, just being protective of your people and being close with your people.
Right.
Yeah, it's
But
very
yeah.
good.
When you're talking about Christ and the representation that he had, a lot of the biblical concept of manliness is about sacrifice and about service to others, in the sense of you serve your family in doing these things. And I think it's really interesting that we see that definition played out for manliness in the Bible. And then if you kind of zoom out a little bit, you definitely can see that with some of the more like manly men perspective things that we look at and say like, wow, that's really a manly thing to do, like a cowboy or like in the military. And you start looking at how that manly figure image can apply to those roles as well. It's like, well, what do we say all the time to people that have been in the military? Thank you for serving. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, who are you serving? It's like you're serving in a leadership capacity all of those people that you're protecting and taking care of. Like it's like the standard definition for manliness there. You know, when you're talking about all these manly professions of doing these hard labor jobs and, you know, big physical things, you're still serving someone else to provide for them. And that's something that shows up in the biblical narrative a lot as well, where, you know, husbands are even called to be like Christ is to the church. And that means, well, at the end of the day, Christ died to make the church. Like, it gave him nothing for him to die, but relationship with that person. That was it. That's all that he gained for it. And so if you're being a manly man according to Scripture, then what you're really doing is being willing to sacrifice everything that you are, everything that you have lived up to this point, give it away and die for the sake of somebody else that you care about. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's brutal. And I mean, if you want to take it a step further, if we really are to represent Christ, even just as a Christian in general, then the perspective of Christ dying on the cross for everyone means that he cared for everyone, which means we need to represent a lifestyle that cares for others that absolutely drive us nuts. You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most frustrating things about Christianity, nobody's off the table. Like, we don't get to look at another group and say, screw you guys. Like, you know, well, we're just, you play a video game long enough, you're bound to say that to somebody. But, like, but when it comes to Christianity and actually living your life out according to those beliefs, then supposedly Christians say that they're going to care about everybody and serve them in a capacity that could even require their life. And that's exactly what the military is doing for us as civilians. You know, they are serving in a capacity where they will not likely meet me personally. I have met a couple Army guys. I've met a couple people that are in military branches, but I have not met anywhere near an entire platoon. Like, let alone all of the people that are out deployed right now in active combat situations, but they're fighting for me. Yeah. And that's broken down very well in the life of Christ as well, as he tries to serve everyone. And not everybody chooses to appreciate that. So manliness is tough. Like, the definition hurts a bit. You know, it's not just like the Teddy Roosevelt, I'm going to be outside and shoot elephants and, you know, ride moose, like all of which he did. He apparently shot an elephant so close that the guide that he was with was running away because the elephant was charging, and his rifle did not fire the first time. So he disassembled a part of it, took the misfire out of the gun, reassembled the gun, and then shot the elephant.
That's pretty cool.
And it's like, dang, bro, like, man, like
That's like a whole new level.
that's a
Like,
whole new level.
Make it happen.
Like that's
mentality.
like video game worthy, where you're like you got to pound the right buttons at the right times of like, and then somehow your character survives. Like that's the fantasy storyline, and this guy actually lived it. So, but yeah. So as we're kind of diving into our own definitions, obviously it brings up the question mark of how does the world see it, and how's the world seen it in the past as well. So does anybody want to take that, or do you guys want to just like throw me and make me do that first part?
I could take part.
Yeah, go for it.
You seem like you want to pass it off.
I've got some stuff, but I talk too much, so I want to hear interesting things from interesting people, which means I need to shut up every once in a while.
So I did a little bit of research on this. My sources don't have to be named.
My sources don't have to be.
Do they?
Highly suspect.
But we'll just say that I've heard from a source that decades ago, being a man looked a lot different than it can look now. Like being a man, it's all about like it was all about just displaying strength, independence, and just how you're able to provide for your family, and like those things are important. But I think sometimes what can change nowadays is just like how much manliness can focus on that, or how much it doesn't have to focus on that nowadays. And I think on top of that is like back then manliness was more about like showing less emotion, because if you show emotion back then you're considered weak. So that might still be a controversial topic today, but I feel like it's more broadly accepted that showing emotion isn't a sign of weakness.
Yeah, we're definitely breaking out of that, which I appreciate for sure. So I also did some research down this path, but I went a little bit more historic, and so I was looking at things like, okay, what was considered manly at this point in time in history, and obviously there's a long period of history where civilization was primarily built around groups of people getting food. Like we needed to not die. That was important. And so the manly things were to go get food, whether that was planting, whether that was gathering or hunting or whatever else. But as you progress closer and closer and closer to where we are now, the definition kind of got violently tossed around. Like there was a bunch of weird stuff that was like, to be a good man, you must blank. And I really started noticing some stuff when it like turned into like the 1700s and the 1800s, and we start seeing like crazy innovation and all sorts of new things that are like really just radically changing everything that guys end up doing in the world. And I bumped into this concept of the 1800s where it was manly. By definition, it was more manly to be ready to host a parlor gathering. So like, not just host like a party, but have an intellectual space in the home that everyone gathers, just sits, drinks, and talks. That was the manly thing to do. And if you did not have that at a certain age, then you were failing. And I'm like, now I'm sitting here with, a cell phone in my hand, and I'm like, I barely talk to anybody in that way. Like, obviously intellectual conversation happens, but it's never like, I don't sit in some comfy chair in a random room and be like, let me tell you about my thoughts on this thing. Like, that's not a thing at all, let alone a manly trait.
I mean, the chairs aren't super comfy.
Yeah,
right
no,
now,
we don't
but
have comfy chairs.
It kind of sound like you're describing a little bit of what we're doing right now.
Okay,
Like
I mean, yeah, you're fair. You're
we're
fair.
gathering and we're talking
You're
about
right.
like intellectually.
But at the same time, like, is this something that you would consider required for manly people to do?
No.
Okay, so like that's kind of what I found fascinating. I was like, well, that's really interesting. And I mentioned Theodore Roosevelt. He showed up very quickly in the search of historic figures for manliness. He actually got like really ticked off about this thing in society. He was like, no. Like, manly men should do this. And it was, be outdoors, be physical about things, go and chase these things. Like, he was known as a big game hunter. Like, he did all sorts of crazy ventures. As a really young kid, he was, like, really, really, really sick. And his dad was like, yeah, I don't care. Put him in sports. And so put him in hard sports, difficult things, even put him in boxing for a while. And Theodore Roosevelt ends up basically recovering from everything and looking back at all that and saying, that's what saved me. Those manly, tough things, they hardened me and made me into the go-getter that I am. And so the definition, again, kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, but started way more towards the whole, like, I guess, Greek concept of be a man, participate in the big bad sports and fight, And then we hit World War One. And all of a sudden, manliness took a weird turn because we could all fight. That was a thing that was not only expected, but it was flat reality that almost everybody was. Like, you would just be drug in and, all right, here you go, weapon, go, liberate Europe. like I mean, in a way. And so the problem that happened shortly after is that all these guys come home and they've experienced this big definition of manliness and the courage and bravery and stand up for everything, and they come home and all of a sudden society is like, well, we don't need fighters anymore. So go back into society, work normal jobs, and take on the role of provider. Take that part of manliness because that's what we need right now. So that's more manly now. When the reality is both are necessary because of, again, we've been designed in a way where we've got to provide, we've got to take care of, but also there's that sense of, hey, we want to be tough. We want to, like, be that guy. When we talk about hunting elephants with crazy rifle malfunctions, like, we're like, whoa, I want to be that guy that's cool under pressure and can handle a tough situation like that. But a lot of people really, really struggled with it because they couldn't break out of what they had already experienced. And so they couldn't fall back into it and say, oh yeah, I can just go to the normal day and day and nobody totally fine. And some were taking it as, well, as a provider for my family, they are the sole reason that I should actually still be a man now. Like, I have nothing else. And then the Great Depression hits. And people are laid off by hundreds. And so all of a sudden you can't provide for your family. And so the idea of manliness just tanks. Like, just falls completely off the planet. And people are just losing their minds. And like what you were saying, back then, talking about their emotions was not a thing. Like, that was a big, big sign of weakness in a lot of circles. So, yeah.
I gotta be honest, I feel like, for years of my life, I thought it was called the Great Depression for a different reason. Like, the economy.
Right. Yeah. And that's the main reason why I got that. Absolutely. But because of that, it caused so many different rifts on a social level as well. Because so many people went from, even people that were really, really high up the totem pole are suddenly just, their business doesn't exist because everything they invested in is gone.
Yeah. Like,
everything broke down, and so hundreds of people are losing their job, thousands of people are losing their job, money's going out the window, inflation is going up, everything is cascading around, and the definition of who these people are is kind of just lost because it's not founded on anything stable anymore. Yeah. And so when World War II hits, we kind of have the same thing happen in reverse, where people are like, oh, we have a reason to be manly men again. Go fight something. And so they do that, and then we come home, and what happens? We do the same thing. We run into this problem of, like, a bunch of people that are coming back from the World War are going like, oh, I'm not sure how to maintain a family. And so we see suicide rates go crazy high again. And it's like, oh my gosh. So this definition of manliness has kind of rattled people throughout the ages. And you look at culture to culture, it's also radically different. Like if you look at a Spanish and French culture, cooking is a manly activity. And like here in the States, like, you know, we're getting better at it, but like still,
I see where you're going.
still, like that's not a concept that we normally associate with guys. Like whenever a guy is cooking for a gathering, what is he doing? Grilling meat, right? Throw it on fire, manly stuff, right? We don't talk about him making pasta for people, right? And so like, you know, another one that I found was dancing. Like there are a lot of cultures where dancing is just a big deal for the guys. Like this is a matter of respect that you know how to do this. And no, I couldn't tell you a single dance that I learned because I wanted to be manly. Like, no, not at all. So yeah, no, culture definitely radically shapes it. But I mean, even just seeing what the world has already gone through, it has violently tossed the idea of what manliness is back and forth. And it all kind of comes down to, okay, what definition are we running with right now? You know? And even in today's world where like we seem to be having trouble defining what is a man and what is a woman and what are those roles? What should they have roles? You know, we get into all of that, and I'm not going into a gender conversation because that's a whole nother ballpark. But, you know, if we don't even have a definition of what some of these things are, how can we have a definition of how to be it? You know? Like, what does it even look like to represent this? So, yeah. No, history's crazy, man. It's weird what this definition has done. Like, there are some things that, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, it's changed over time, but, like, the general idea is the same. This, nah, man, flip of a coin, like, what actually it entails for that time period. Some elements have stuck around, but they just kind of keep getting shuffled around as what's more important, you know, when the reality is men often crave all of these pieces that fit into the puzzle, but we need to find some perfect magical way of making it all work together in our world to feel like we're accomplishing that. Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really tough part in like being a man, especially if you want to kind of be the man that you kind of let what other people require of you dictate how you act and how you transform yourself. Because like you were talking about, like, you know, World War I and the Great Depression, like that's a drastic change.
Oh yeah.
In your lifestyle, your mindset, and like I can't even comprehend that because, you know.
Right. We've never gone through something like that.
Yeah,
but
so,
like, you know, on something that's much more closer to home, what did it look like when our society shut down because of a plague? Like, how many people lost their jobs? How many people were put out of a position that they could provide for their family all of a sudden? And so, you know, we don't have the exact thing, but because our definition is so fluid and it changes so often by group to group, I mean, it's really easy to lose what you feel like is your purpose inside of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, we've talked about our definitions. Talked some about history's definitions.
Are we still running?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sorry, my spit on you, my bad. So, talked about these things. What do we do to... But before we close, because we should work on that soon.
Yep.
Yes.
Before we close, I'm going to toss a sidebar out there that kind of applies to this. Right?
Sidebar.
Ready?
Sidebar.
Not sure what just happened, but alright.
That should be our audio for sidebar.
Anytime we have a sidebar, it's just that little snippet right there.
So, kind of be thinking in the back of your brains of like, stuff you want to wrap this conversation with? What's the bow on top? What do we want to like really hand to each other, hand to other people? But in the process, one of my favorited questions of all time that I've asked people, I will now pose to you all. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Excellent.
Oops, excuse me.
If you were to ride into battle on an animal, any kind, what would it be?
I already know.
What would it be?
You know those things from Star Wars called Tauntauns?
Yes!
I was the next question. The next question out of my mind was going to be: does it have to be a real life creature?
No, it
or
does
can
not
be-
have to be real. You pick what it is. A tauntaun?
Oh hell yeah! A sandworm from Dune.
Okay. Alright, that's pretty dope. I'll give you that.
We went a little different directions. I was going like...
Can I say a
Ridiculous.
dragon?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. But there are enough dragons out there. What dragon are you gonna like? What are you picturing
Yeah, special.
coming in on?
I don't know enough about dragons. I
It
guess.
doesn't have to be lore, but like what do you picture?
Like,
Smog from Lord of the Rings.
I don't remember Lord of the Rings that well, but that's a different topic.
I'll take the dagger out of my heart a little bit later. Ouch.
It's been a while. I'm
You
sorry.
played D&D before. You can describe stuff, right?
When I get back, we need to schedule a movie day where we just watch like some movies and we drink and we eat.
Catch
Yeah.
Jacob up on some movies.
So
Yeah.
dragon. Are we talking like a normal dragon, like 4 legs, big wings, breathes
Yeah.
fire? So
Yeah,
okay,
like
all right.
giant looking, spiky
menacing.
dragon. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like a whatchamacallit. I forget what they call it. There's like a modern lizard that looks like a dragon or something.
Komodo dragon.
The Komodo dragon.
I think so. Not like one of those, but like an actual like medieval like
Yeah,
Breathes
that'd be-
fire.
story time giant dragon.
Spits acid or.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, Godzilla!
No need. Anyway,
Nice.
Josh, what was your?
So mine has changed over the years to many, many different things because I've heard many, many good answers. But I think mine would be an overly large monitor lizard. So a monitor lizard, you guys can look it up later, but it's like really, really, really sleek. So really skinny looking, but it's got an enormously long tail.
Hmm.
And it is black as night and vicious as heck. It's amazing. And to have a giant one to ride on with the speed that it has, like, would be fantastic.
Can I change my answer?
Sure.
If we're gonna go oversized, I want to do an oversized honey badger. North
Okay,
American
alright.
honey badger.
Alright.
Because they do not give a flying. You're bigger than them. They'll try.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
killed bears before,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're the size of my child.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a voiceover
No,
YouTube
I-
video of that? Like, of the
Yeah,
guy that's
yeah.
honey badger?
He's like, you are the size of my paw. I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna die. You're gonna. It's like a bear actually like being afraid, like an actual
Oh, yeah.
grizzly bear being
Oh,
afraid
yeah.
of a honey
No,
badger.
I've got some friends in Alaska that I stayed with, and they go on like crazy, super long hikes just deep into the wilderness. And they've flat out said like, "Oh yeah, we see bears all the time. Like we can spot them out usually, and if not, we make enough noise. Like they usually don't come anywhere near us. Like it's not a big deal, but we need to pay attention to them. We keep stuff on us to prevent stuff." And then they mentioned badgers and wolverines,
Yes.
the two of them, and they were like, "Yep, we saw a pack of wolverines once from about 6 miles away because they saw something that kept showing up at a distance, and they're like, that's really weird. Is that a thing?" And they whipped out their like telescope that they bring with them, just like a portable quick stand, and they looked it up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's like a pack of wolverines." They went home.
Yeah.
They went 6 miles away, and people were noticing like, oh, there's like elk and deer running away from this certain area. Is there anything over there? And they see this pack like literally miles away, not coming near them. And instead of doing what they do with bears of just going, we should probably walk around this side of the path instead. Rah, go away, bear. No, they're like, yeah, I think that's a good day. Yep.
Let's go.
Peace out. Have fun. So yeah, honey badger, man. Yeah, for sure. I think personally, one of my favorited answers of all time came from a 10-year-old that I asked that question.
Yes.
Of course it did.
You usually give good answers.
I asked him that question, and the room was filled with answers like, "Oh, I'd have a dragon," or "Oh, I'd have a, dinosaur."
Dragon is a good answer.
And it is a great answer. It's a freaking good answer. And one person was like, "I would have Mecha Godzilla," and I'm like, "Okay, all right, not really an animal, but okay, all right, I'll give it to you." And then I go all the way down the line, and she happens to be the last person on the far side of the room, and I ask her, "What about you? What would you write in on?" And with every serious bone in her body, she looked me dead in the face and said, "A cow." And I was like, "What?" I mean, you have polar bears, you have Godzilla, and you have a cow. And I even tried to clarify. I was like, "Okay, so are you like an enormous cow that just like stomps on things?" And she's like, "No, just a cow." And she flat out meant a normal dairy cow. She's just gonna ride in. And in all fairness, I've thought about that answer ever since, and I'm like, okay, if I show up to battle
On a cow.
and no, I show up to battle on my monitor lizard, right? This thing that looks like it could eat anyone. And I bring in my troves of armies, and I meet this rebellious force that shows up with their leader, who also could choose anything that she wanted, and she just rode up on a cow? I would start to question what I was doing. I would be worried for unknown reasons why I am fighting this person and what she knows that I do not.
She's sandbagging.
She just won the psychological battle with milk. Like I don't understand how, but well played. I got to give mad props there. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, manly men, for your
Yes.
wonderful answers of battle creatures. So now that you've had a moment,
That is partly why it shows Tauntaun. It's like I was going against the grain. of-
This psychological. You're like, wait, how did you get? Is that a?
so as we wrap this thing up, what do we say? What do we say about manliness?
Manliness rocks.
That's a big question.
It is a huge question. That's a question that our world has obviously struggled with for a long time.
Trying to compile all the good advice into one
There's a lot of good
sentence.
advice. So if we're going to break it down into what's the most important element to being a good man?
Selflessness.
Ooh, that was really fast. I got one hand raised and then another guy who's often the quiet guy suddenly say something. That was great. All right. So selflessness. Go with this, and then
Selfless service is one of the army values.
Selfless service. Okay. All right. Was that what you were gonna say?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So two selfishnesses. Okay. Tell me why. Why is that the most important? You don't have to raise your hand. Since when is this a thing?
You can go first.
Since the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th beer started to kick.
Oh,
in.
okay.
I feel like you can wrap everything else up into selfless service, or at least you can relate it into like the army values. Like they're a list of like the basic words that you want, like honor and respect and selfless service and the other couple of words. You can hate me for not knowing all of them by heart. I don't care.
He's new. Give him time.
You have people who are graduated soldiers who don't know the soldier's creed, which is stupid. It's like not knowing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
I may or may not know.
All right.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I just feel like that you should be able to. A lot of what I do is because I don't care too much about myself. Is that I want to care about these people, even if they can't give me anything. Like, my son's not going to be able to do anything for me right now. He's just there. He's eating my food and breathing my air and pooping in clothes that I bought for him and breaking controllers that my wife bought me for Christmas.
Kids.
But he's not going to be able to give anything to me, and that's the
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Not physically.
Yeah.
Not physically, yeah. But emotionally,
But even then, the future can't be what you bank on to be a good man in selfless
Exactly.
service, right? Like,
Yeah.
we've all been there where somebody did something nice for us with the full expectation that they get something in return, and it's not the same. So,
it was like one thing I'm known for in our platoon, or even in our bay, which has 2 platoon sets of males in it, so there's 57 of us. I'm known for, if anybody needs something, come talk to me, because I know that I would want that person. That's how I would want people to act. If I need something, everybody is like, there's like 6 people, like, here, you helped me out, I got you. And that's how you gotta be when you're around people. Like, when you don't have access to the grocery store all the time, you run out of Tide Pods, you can't wash your clothes, and you show up in a dirty uniform, you get smoked for that. Or you run out of razors, your last razor just broke, okay? Anybody got a razor? 6 hands go up. And it's like, well, I didn't do that for that reason, but I did that. That is one of the hopeful outcomes that come out of it. Like, one of my battle buddies bought my boots. They spent $180 on me and wouldn't let me pay them back. Refused to let me pay them back. We're both believers in Christ, and he's a single male with no bills to pay because he still lives at home and his parents pay all his bills for him. He was like, please let me do this for you. You have 2 kids. And all I did was ask him to back me up if my card got declined, because I don't have access to call my wife all the time or access to my bank account 24/7. We go to the grocery store, then we get our phones. That's how it goes. Every Sunday we go to the grocery store, then we get our phones. And so he pushed me out of the way on the register, and I was like, that's the kind of environment that I like to surround myself with.
and I mean, that's others living out manliness for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Or like, we had 2 of our youngest soldiers stick up for me while we were calling people out, like, bad things, and we did top 3, bottom 3, so everybody votes on their top 3 people in the platoon and bottom 3, and they started calling out people, and they're like, our drill sergeant went through this whole stick of, I would not have voted any of the 3 that you voted for the top 3. He's like, I would have not voted for any of these guys because they're not, you guys didn't vote properly. You voted based upon their physical attributes and not their actual soldier attributes. He was like, I would trust these 4 other people who are less physically capable to drag me out of, to be calm over the 3 that you picked. They're chill, but they're not, they don't, but, and then 2 of the youngest ones stood up and were like, y'all forgetting about Kelly over here. He's the first one to volunteer for anything, because for anything, he's the first one you ask for help. He's the first one. You need a battle buddy to go to the bathroom, because we have to go in Battle Buddy Paris. Everywhere you go, you have a partner with you. Doesn't matter anytime.
makes sense.
The first person to stand up is almost always Kelly, and it's just because that's how we're supposed to act. And it meant a lot, because I thought these little turds hated me, because they're always making fun of me for something. They're always picking on me, and I was like, oh, okay. Oh well, they're 2 18-year-olds, and then they stick up for me. And the last day that we're there, I was like, "Dang, dude, that meant a lot." Like,
Yeah.
they're both of them. Neither of the 2 of them have dads in their life, and the dad that the one has is a piece of work. Like, he's not a dad; he's just there.
Yeah.
But
All right. What about you? You talked about selflessness as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring a different perspective on selflessness, and with that, I will say, like, I'm not saying anything negative about, like, the service part of selflessness, but I also wanted to shine some light on, like, the, I don't exactly know what to call it, but the other side of selflessness is, like, erring on, like, less service and just kind of, like, it's kind of too broad to put, like,
Okay,
a label
alright.
on it. But, like, just some examples is just, something I'm currently trying to do is, like, when someone asks me for help, sometimes it's a girl, like my wife, or, just one of my cousins, or, someone. And, when, not always, but usually when a female asks you for help, they don't want you to solve it within a few seconds of them completing their sentence.
You gotta ask
What?
you gotta ask the crucial thing that I've learned is, do you want me to listen or do you want me to fix it?
Yeah, and that's something I've learned is a lot of times I've learned to listen more because, you know, there's a lot of times where people just want to talk and just me being the guy that's trying to be more manly, I'm trying to like fix things more. And that's just been a growing point in my life is, you know, learning it's not all about like stepping up and taking control. It's like sometimes the selflessness is just about like seeing where this person's at and like knowing what they need, and sometimes what they need isn't for you to like necessarily step up and like do anything, but just kind of like be there for them.
Yeah. Caring for others around you is not dependent on your definition of what help is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes helping is just, it's got to come from them. Like, it's got to come from their definition of what help would actually be in that situation. Yeah, that's good. What you got, man?
I don't have much to add. I was thinking humility or serving or something of that sort, but yeah, not exactly. I don't know. Thinking of being a man, I don't automatically think like being strong and being able to lift something, but I think of kind of more biblically just humble and ready to serve others and loving and all those other good things.
Yeah, but I mean, Travis, you mentioned this off podcast, but the difference between masculinity versus manliness.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with you, Jake, of saying like the first thing that comes to mind about a manly man is not the masculine sector of, oh yeah, I go out, lift lots and cut trees. Like, no. I picture somebody who actually like holds their life with value and value for others. And they live that out by taking care of those that are around them and doing their best to provide everything that they can in a broad scope for the people that have walked through their doors. You know, like, it doesn't matter if this person is somebody that you're going to be super close to for a long time. Like, if you're being a manly man, you're taking care of others that may not be able to take care of themselves, or if they can, then you have an even better opportunity to love on them and serve them in that way. And it's not required to be somebody that like pays for every meal. It's not required to be something that you're, you know, physically providing all these things. But sometimes, like you said, it's just listening. Sometimes it is going out in the rain and the mud and doing work that somebody else can't or won't. But being a manly man, I mean, by my own perspective, being a manly man is being able to see the needs of others around you and humbly take care of those needs in a way that serves them, not you. That's kind of been the immediate go-to of people that I've thought of for that. Obviously, there are elements of great stories of like, oh, I tamed my own horse, or, you know, like all of those great classic guy characteristics. But when it comes to who I'm going to actually hold in that position of honor of saying, like, you are the manly man that I want to be like, it's always going to break down into how do you live your life. It's not how much you weigh or how much you lift or how much you can go, you know, literally tackle a tree and it breaks in half for you. It's no. How are you using what you have and who you are to take care of others and be able to provide for those that are within your circle? So, yeah, it's good. Earlier, we kind of talked about a phrase other than just goodbye to close out podcasts, but for anybody listening, we've not discovered that phrase yet. So, as we're wrapping all of this up, is there anything else that anybody wants to throw in the mix? Anything else that we need to touch on before we, you know, awkwardly say goodbye?
Being put on the spot.
There's so many thinking faces that just happened.
Did we all three of us make a
Like,
face?
yes, everybody had their version of a thinking face as soon as I asked it.
I was like,
I think we've talked enough then. I think that's good.
We tried so hard. It was visual.
I was wholeheartedly expecting that to be the end. Uh-oh. We need more.
No, I think we're good. All hearts clear, right? Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked it and we're good. All right, well, I guess then if anybody listening has something to say about manliness, let us know. And if you have an awesome story like, Teddy Roosevelt, we absolutely want to hear how you randomly wrangled a tiger in the middle of a snowy day. Like, please let us know that. That would
Yes,
be fantastic.
absolutely.
I also want to know if anyone out there is able to tackle a tree in half.
Hey, I didn't say what size tree. I'll go prove it to you.
That's fair.
All right, until next time, thanks for joining us and stay safe out there. Bye.